Good morning, everybody. My name is Charles Rather, Managing Partner at AmLaw Group. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the E2 visa and how it's possible to get that visa using a second passport. This is a very popular topic among people from countries that don't have an E2 treaty with the US. I would say first and foremost that would include China, Russia, and a number of other relatively large countries, but I would say Russia and China account for probably the majority of investors who are interested in getting an E2 visa, but are not able to do so because there's not a treaty with their country. India is also another country, very large country, obviously, that doesn't have an E2 treaty. So what you're seeing is a lot of individuals from these countries are filing for so-called golden visas, such as the ones that were available for a long time in Europe, including Portugal, Spain, Cyprus, Malta. But the European Union has been putting pressure on these individual countries to close up these programs. And as we've seen lately, that's what's happening. Ireland closed up its program earlier this year, 2023, as did Portugal. And I believe Spain is considering doing the same. So there were a lot of options until recently, and these options are becoming more and more limited. But nonetheless, there are still a number of options still out there of countries where you can relatively quickly get a second passport, and using that passport, you would qualify for an E2. Off the top of my head, I would say maybe the countries that are most promising as of today, assuming that the Portuguese program will close relatively quickly by summer of this year, which I think is the case. What remains is probably Grenada is one of the remaining top programs. That program has been around a long time. Turkey has a very interesting program where you have to invest in real estate. And the difference with Turkey, how it differs, say, from Grenada and some other countries, is you can invest basically in any real estate as long as it meets the minimum threshold in terms of price. You can then qualify for the passport, and then after 3 years, I think you're able to sell the property. But then by that time, you obviously have your citizenship, your passport, and you're good to go. There are some complications with the new Amigos Act that was passed in December of 2022. For those who don't know, the Amigos Act was an amendment to the general law governing E2 visas. And what that act did was, there were some good things about it. It included Portugal in the list of countries that can qualify for the E2, so that was great. But on the downside, there was a provision that was added that said that if you received your passport that you're using for the E2 as a result of financial investments, unfortunately, they don't define what are financial investments, so that's a vague area that we're able to maybe maneuver around for some of our clients. But if you acquire your second passport through financial investments, you have to show you that your domicile, the center of your life interests, is in that country and has been in that country for 3 years prior to applying. So what that means in regular talk is that, say, for example, you have a Grenadian passport that you just got last month. Theoretically, under this law, you have to wait for 3 years before you file for the E2 to show that the 3 years prior to you filing, you had your center of interest in Grenada. So it means not only waiting for 3 years, but you have to show that most of your life is focused and centered on Grenada. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to live there for 3 years, but you've got to show that your main country, where you focus on most of all, is Grenada. Let's say you're on a long-term business trip overseas, or you're studying overseas in Europe or Asia somewhere. And so for these next 3 years, you're physically not going to be there, but you need to kind of show that you're planning to go back there. Now, here's the catch. The law, the Amigos Act, at least as of now, which is mid-year 2023, to our experience, is not really being applied. We've had numerous clients apply with Turkish and Grenadian passports to start with, who recently just got them, certainly not 3 years ago. And some of them don't even have really ties per se with those countries, and they're able to get the E2 visa. Again, we believe, first of all, and if you look at some of our other videos on our channel on this topic, first and foremost, this is related to the fact that it's taking some time for the government to implement the rules. I don't know how long it's going to take them, but obviously you've got a lot of embassies around the world. They have to rewrite, the rules for administering the visas, for the procedures and criteria, and they have to train the consular officers. So that's going to take some time, and it's not going to happen very quickly. The other reason why we think our clients shouldn't be too worried about this is the fact that there are some quite legal but clever workarounds around the requirements of the Amigos Act. So we're confident that even if the government, the American government, deems that you got your second citizenship through financial investments, we're quite confident that there are ways to get around this that are in the spirit of the law, but also follow the letter of the law and would allow our clients to do so. So if you're considering getting a second passport or citizenship to get an E2, but you're not sure whether the Amigos Act might conflict or create some problems, please reach out to us, set up a consultation. We'll be happy to go through your particular situation and go through some of the legalities about how we can help you achieve your goals. Until next time, this was Charles Rather. Thank you.